Communications on the 777 are managed through audio control panels. Let's look at the audio control panels. The audio control panels have receiver volume controls and transmitter select switches. Receivers are manually controlled by pushing the associated receiver volume control to turn them on or off, and rotating them to adjust the volume. Turn on the receiver for the right VHF radio. You can monitor as many receivers as you desire. A receiver light illuminates when a receiver volume control is manually selected. The flight deck speaker is selected and its volume controlled with this switch. A filter selector for the navigation radios is used to select voice, range, or both voice and range for audio identification of the navigation radios. To transmit on any of the VHF, HF, or Interphone systems, the associated transmitter must first be selected. Push the left VHF transmitter select switch to select the transmitter. Touch the highlighted area. Mic displays in the transmitter select switch for the selected transmitter. Notice how the previously selected transmitter is no longer selected. Only one transmitter can be selected at a time. Pushing a transmitter select switch automatically selects the associated receiver volume control. Notice, however, that the receiver light does not illuminate when the receiver volume control has been automatically selected with the transmitter select switch. The selected transmitter is keyed with the mic position of the audio control panel mic interphone switch, the control wheel mic interphone switch, the glare shield mic switch, or the old reliable handheld microphone. Now, let's look at VHF and HF communications. VHF and HF radios are tuned using radio tuning panels. To use a radio tuning panel, the panel must be switched on with the radio tuning panel off switch. Push the radio tuning panel off switch to turn on this radio tuning panel. Each panel can tune 3 VHF radios and 2 HF radios. A radio tuning light illuminates, indicating which radio is currently being tuned by this radio tuning panel. Let's call ground control on 121.9 using the left VHF radio. First, the frequency is set in the standby frequency window by rotating the frequency selectors. Set the frequency with the frequency selectors. Notice how the frequency selectors only set the frequency in the standby frequency window. Now, transfer this frequency to the active frequency window. The left radio tuning panel is normally associated with the left VHF and HF radios, and the right radio tuning panel is normally associated with the right VHF and HF radios. Tune the VHF frequency 121.6 in the left VHF radio using the right radio tuning panel. Touch the highlighted area. Touch the highlighted area. The left offside tuning light illuminates, indicating that the radio normally tuned with this panel is being tuned by another radio tuning panel. The right offside tuning light illuminates, indicating this radio tuning panel is being used to tune a radio not normally associated with this panel. The process for tuning an HF radio is similar. Select one of the HF radio tuning switches, select the frequency, then transfer the frequency to the active frequency window. Like all HF radios, don't forget to key the transmitter to tune the radio. The 777 has a 4-part interphone communications system. The system includes a flight interphone system, a cabin interphone system, a passenger address system, and a service interphone system. The flight interphone system is primarily used for flight deck communication during times of emergency. It is also used to communicate with ground personnel during pre-flight, engine start, and pushback. With the flight interphone transmitter select switch selected, transmitting and receiving is the same as described earlier in this lesson. You can also transmit on the flight interphone system when the transmitter select switch is not selected by selecting the interphone position on the mic interphone switch here, or on the mic interphone switch on the control wheel. However, the receiver volume control must be manually selected in order to receive. For anti-hijack and other security purposes, all flight deck conversations can be monitored anytime by the ground crew through an area microphone on the flight deck. To monitor this microphone, the ground crew uses the cockpit voice interphone jack on the APU ground control panel. No action by the pilots is necessary. If the ground crew is not monitoring the flight interphone system, the pilot can alert them with the call signal. To do this, first select Cabin Interphone from the menu page on the center CDU. Selecting the Cabin Interphone prompt displays the Cabin Interphone main menu page. We'll talk about the rest of this page and other Cabin Interphone pages in a minute, but for now, call the ground crew by selecting Ground Crew. An alert horn on the APU ground control panel sounds when calling the ground crew. The ground crew can also call the pilots. These are the flight deck indications when the ground crew is calling. Selecting the interphone position on the mic interphone switch or pushing the flight interphone transmitter select switch resets the call light and removes the communications alert message from ICAS. The service interphone switch allows independent operation of the service and flight interphone systems. With the service interphone switch on, all the service interphone stations are connected to the flight interphone system. The 777 cabin interphone system is used for communications between the flight deck and the cabin. There are two ways to initiate communications with the cabin. You can use the audio control panel to select the cabin interphone system and the cabin interphone pages on the center CDU to initiate calls. You can also use the telephone-type handset at the end of the aisle stand. When using the handset, first find the dial code for the desired station from the directory on the back of the handset. Then simply lift the receiver off the hook, enter the dial code, and talk. Only push the passenger address push-to-talk switch when making a PA announcement. The reset button resets the handset for another call. Now let's look at how the center CDU is used to initiate calls to the cabin. From the cabin interphone main menu page, the same page you used to initiate the call to the ground crew, you can speed dial any of these stations by simply pushing the line select key adjacent to the location to be called. For example, call the door 1 left attendant station. The dial code and station location appear in the scratch pad automatically, and end call displays. When the call is connected, the dial code disappears. Should a call be made to you during a current conversation, the calling station appears in the call queue. Up to 4 unanswered calls can display in the queue. Terminate the current call by selecting End Call. When the call is terminated, the scratch pad blanks. After terminating the current call, you can delete calls in the call queue by first selecting the Delete key and then selecting the call to be deleted. Or you can speed dial a station in the call queue by pushing the line select key next to the desired station. You can speed dial additional cabin interphone stations through the cabin interphone directory. Display the cabin interphone directory. The cabin interphone directory provides access to cabin interphone subdirectories. A station is speed dialed by first selecting a subdirectory and then selecting a station. The cabin interphone directory page and each cabin interphone subdirectory page has a cabin interphone prompt, which returns the CDU display to the cabin interphone main menu page. Code into the scratch pad. To illustrate this, first terminate the call to door 3 left. Now enter the dial code for the door 2 right attendant station. Touch the highlighted key. If the entered dial code is valid, the dial code label displays in the scratch pad and Send displays. With any cabin interphone page displayed, pushing the CDU decimal key displays the star symbol in the scratch pad. Now select Send to initiate the call to Door 2 Right Attendant Station. Now terminate this call. Return to the cabin interphone main menu page. These are the indications when the cabin crew is calling you. Pushing the cabin interphone transmitter select switch answers the call, extinguishes the call light, and removes the ICAS message the same as with ground crew calls. An additional speed dialing feature is available to the crew. Pushing the cabin interphone transmitter select switch twice within 1 second places a priority call to a pre-selected cabin station. Now let's look at the passenger address system. PA in use displays when the system is in use. PA in use is removed when the system is available for PA announcements. Select the PA subdirectory. Next, select the desired PA area. In this example, make an announcement to first class. Then select the cabin interphone transmitter select switch and key any microphone to make an announcement to the selected area. PA announcements are also made with the handset by entering the dial code and then holding the push-to-talk switch on the handset while transmitting. A chime sounds in the cabin area and over the passenger entertainment headphones to alert the passengers of the PA announcement. Selecting PA on the audio control panel and keying a microphone transmits to all PA areas regardless of CDU or handset selections. A selective calling or cell call decoder permits the calling of a selected airplane over normal VHF and HF frequencies. When the airplane has an incoming call on any of the VHF or HF radios, the communications alert message cell call displays and a chime sounds. A call light also illuminates on the audio control panels. The cockpit voice recorder switch and microphone are located on the overhead panel. Until 5 minutes after last engine shutdown. To activate the system at other times, position the switch to on. The switch automatically returns to the auto position at first engine start. The cockpit voice recorder continuously records flight deck area conversations and transmissions made through the audio control panels. The cockpit voice recorder is erased by pushing the Erase switch located on the cockpit voice recorder panel. The Erase switch only functions on the ground with AC power on, the cockpit voice recorder system active, and the parking brake set. Now let's look at the non-normals. Should the captain's or the first officer's audio control panel fail, the observer's audio control panel is used as a backup. The observer's audio selector is used to connect either the captain's or first officer's hand microphone, headphone, boom microphone headset, oxygen mask microphone, speaker, and mic interphone switch to the observer's audio control panel. Make the selection that allows the captain to use the observer's audio control panel. For stuck mic protection, the ICAS advisory message Radio Transmit displays whenever a VHF or HF radio transmits for longer than 30 seconds. The message is removed when transmission stops. On the ground, with both engines shut down and any VHF radio transmitting more than 35 seconds, the transmitting radio is automatically disabled. The radio is enabled again when the microphone switch for that radio is released.